Are we here? Are we live? Are we live? We are live. We are live. Hey guys, what's happening? It's Jordan Rudolph, founder of Unity Fitness and host of the Community Fitness Podcast, and we are here in the real episode number 115, and we are talking food today. We're talking nutrition, and as we kind of wait for everybody to get online, and also everybody to make sure that I have everything working correctly, as in my volume. Let's see here. Yes. I can hear me, so that means we must be doing well. All right, guys, if you're here, like this, say hi in the comments. Make sure you post below and all that other stuff, because this is an important episode for a couple different reasons. One, we're trying to set this standard straight that the majority of marketing and the majority of other gyms and the majority of other people are it's human nature to think this way, is kind of ruining it for us, if you will, and it's creating a problem. Because here's the deal: at the end of the day, everybody does want to look better naked. Okay, which means that we want to probably have some fat loss and some definition, some toned muscles, some strength, some lean muscle building involved. Okay, but to look toned, we have to get rid of some fat and we have to build some lean muscle. All right. So at the end of the day, everybody wants to look better naked. There's no doubt about that. Okay, well, I think we can all agree. So if that is taken a step further into what we kind of see in the everyday life of the American public, if you will, in terms of health and fitness, everything out there, almost everything out there, is directed towards fat loss, is directed towards weight loss. So if we have so many different resources out there for everybody to focus on their weight loss efforts, their fat loss efforts, and there should be all this stuff. There's books, right, on dieting. There's gyms. There's supplementation companies. There's nutrition coaches. There's all of this stuff out there for weight loss assistance and guidance. Why do we still have such a weight problem in America? Is it because we're privileged in terms of what we can be accessible towards, right? So we have the fast food. We have convenience at our factor. We're allowed to just go buy basically anything we want to get our hands on when we need it. There's that easiness. There's a lot of people in the world that don't have that luxury. Okay, is it because we're teased, we're told false information? Is it because we're not really focusing on it like we should? Is it because we're too damn busy? We're too damn involved with everything else to really focus on ourselves? And we think about all of those things in terms of the retrospect of the weight loss issue and everything else. And it comes back to then, yeah, maybe is the answer to all of them. It's a combination of a lot of things, right? It's a combination of a lot of things. Depending on which rabbit hole you want to go down, you can find answers that justify whatever it is, whether it's because there's too much processed sugar, and it's because back in the 1960s and 70s, the FDA said that, oh, sugar's good, aspartame's good, just like smoking's good, and clearly it's not the case. And then we can go by their food pyramid. We can go by the change of all of that. We can go by the conspiracy of all of these big companies are involved with the government, which are involved with the pharmaceutical companies, and yada yada yada. Like, you can go down a rabbit hole however far you want. But here's the biggest deal. This kind of came to fruition after talking with the great Alan Cosgrove. But we don't have a weight loss issue in America. We have a weight maintenance issue. And this weight maintenance issue is the real problem. Because I see results as a coach, as a trainer, as a gym owner, as a fitness and nutrition expert. I see stuff all the time on my Instagram and Facebook feed and on YouTube that's targeting me about fat loss and weight loss, right? It's clear that it's targeted for everybody in some way, shape, or form. And I see it every day, whether it's the new year or not. I see it every day. So if I'm seeing it, I know other people are seeing it, right? But if there's so much available to us, if there's so much out there for us to take advantage of and help with our weight loss, why do we still have a weight problem? No one's out there showing you how to maintenance this. No one's teaching you the habits. I can work you to death and I can starve you to death and get results in 6 weeks or 4 weeks too. All right? And the thing is, when you start any type of program like that or any type of journey like that, guess what else is happening? You're not doing think about like all the stuff that you start doing, right? You start eating better. I start eating more vegetables. I start drinking more water. I stop going out to eat as much. I don't have fast food. But also think about the things that you stop doing. If you start doing something, you're stopped doing something anyway. If you say yes to something, you're saying no to something anyway. Okay? So what I'm saying here is that when it comes down to that point of you going through this some sort of challenge or quick term thing, short term thing, potentially quick fix thing, what's happening there is we're also not doing the things that probably started to get us in that place in that position in the first place. Like again, we're not going out to fast food all the time. We're not drinking soda every night. We're not having beers on the weekend. We're not having pizza every other night. We're making most of our meals at home. We're eating more vegetables. So don't give all the credit to what you're doing. It's also what you're not doing. And don't give credit to this person. You're the hero in this journey. Okay? Give credit to yourself. All right? So if there's all these things available out there, all these weight loss things, all these quick fix things, all these transformation challenges, all these fat loss challenges, all these other things like that, why are we still in this issue in America? Okay? And again, you could go down those rabbit holes, but I personally believe it's not the weight loss issue, it's a weight maintenance issue. All of these things are out there to make you gain weight. All of these things are out there to make you lose weight, but nothing's out there really to help you maintain it. You have to figure that out by yourself, or you have to learn to be with somebody that teaches you how to do that. Okay? That comes down to having a strong foundation, a strong structure. If I built the tallest skyscraper, okay, the taller my skyscraper, the bigger, the deeper my foundation is, right? I need to be able to hold this thing up. All right? If I build a tall skyscraper and I don't have a great foundation, that skyscraper can get knocked down pretty easily. Okay? But if I build something that's tall and strong, I need to have that greater foundation. That greater foundation for your health and your results is your habits and your routines. Okay? If you do something that kind of builds up your skyscraper, if you will, that gives you results for health and fitness, if you will, but you're not focused on those deep down rooted, seated habits and routines, you're just waiting for that wrong wind, right? You're just waiting for that little extra capacity to knock you over the edge. You're just waiting for that pandemic to really throw you off and knock things backwards, right? That's maybe extreme, but you get my point. Okay? So it adjusted here. So when we think about then if it's a weight maintenance issue, you need to understand how fat loss works. I've bored you to death on how fat loss works on this podcast before. Look back on our previous episodes. I just talked about it. Okay? But when it comes to nutrition, because when we're talking about nutrition today, last week we talked about training. All right? If we think about these elite athletes, these professional athletes, these Olympians, these guys that are the specimens, they're the one, and these ladies, these 1%, the top 1% of the 1%, right? They're the 1% of the 1% out there. They train hard. They train smart. They didn't just get that way. Yes, there's a little bit of gifted talent to them. Yes, they might have some decent genetics, but they also were surrounded by the right type of programs, people, help throughout their upbringing, throughout their journey, throughout their life to help them get into the position that they're at. They didn't do it alone. They certainly did not do it alone. They just didn't figure out how to work out on their own. You can't be that good at a sport or something that you do and also be that good at taking care of yourself and your body by your own. It's impossible, right? The top business owners, the top CEOs out there did not do this alone. They did not do this alone, and I promise you they'll tell you the same thing. And if they do say different, they're probably not a good human being. Okay? So when it comes to the nutrition, this matters as well. And we're talking about it today because we already talked about training, and we're talking about nutrition because nutrition's the easiest thing that you can do to manipulate and change your body, set aside from like the training program and movement and exercise. Okay? Nutrition's kind of that thing you've probably heard before. You can't out-train a bad diet. Nutrition's that thing before where you've probably heard it's like 80% results, 80% of your results, and 20% is from exercise. So there's a strong portion of nutrition that is involved with your long-term success. If you have a bad relationship with food, right? Meaning that you view food as a punishment, you view food as starvation, you view food as a restriction, something like that. You're going to have a hard time through mental health and clarity to find success with your overall goals. Okay, if you have those poor relationships with food and those punishment, restriction, deprivation, starvation, you're not going to do well long term. But guys, it's not your fault, because remember what I just said in the beginning of this podcast. Mentally, it seems smart then if something's too much, we take a little bit away. But what happens is we keep taking more away. We keep taking more away. And the body is a fascinating thing. It doesn't work like that. So, how do we get it to then work for us in terms of, bump this up a little bit so I have to stop looking down. There we go. So how do we get this to work with us? And I'm going to go to the whiteboard in a little bit so I can show you this and a little bit more what I mean, just give you some visuals, okay? So if you're listening to this, I'll try to explain it the best I can to help out. But here's the thing, guys. When we think about food then, and we think about where we want to be, and if we also think about there's so many options out there for us to lose weight, so many options. Like here in La Crosse of 50,000, 55,000, the employment of 100,000 per day when students and universities and the hospitals are in full action. I like the options. I can give you 30, right? 30 weight loss options, okay? So if we have that many options, why do we still have so many people overweight? Again, it's a weight maintenance issue. We don't know how to maintain it. We can get results. Anybody can get you results. Anybody can get you tired. Anybody can starve you for 30 days. But not everybody can make you maintain that, can help you maintain that. Not everybody can keep you strong, okay? And I don't want you to think that you've also been let down, because here's the other part of it. In our industry, there's a lot of people that have been taught incorrectly, okay? There's a lot of people that have gone down a rabbit hole of incorrectness and then facilitated that through their expertise, if you will, through their services. So we're going to talk about how to train, or we already talked about training like an athlete, so we're going to talk about how to eat maybe like an athlete, or like a boss, or like a badass, or like a BAMF, right? We're going to learn how to eat like that. And I'm going to teach you that today really quickly, and just talk about it so that you understand it a little bit more. And the biggest thing is your body, right? Your body will match and try to match what it needs to do on a daily basis to create this thing called homeostasis. And if you've been on some podcasts before, we've talked about this. We've talked about this with longevity expert Chris Borda, who's the author of some books out now, like this one right here, Get Stronger, Live Longer, The Expert's Guide to Strength Training for Longevity, okay? So we've had him on the podcast like 4 times. But we talked about homeostasis with him and in a couple other episodes. Your body's trying to find this home base based on what its environment and representations and adaptations are. So if you change something outside the body or during your routine, however that is, you then will create a change internally. But if your body is set on something, if your body recognizes some places like super comfortable or safe, or like super extreme ends of things, it's no longer going to create change, nor is it going to adapt to you, because it's at homeostasis. And here's where homeostasis works out really well. It means that it's ready to adapt to you, to give you kind of like your best chance for being at optimal levels based on what the information is, right? So there's an intake and outtake form. So your homeostasis is your body's response to whatever's happening in your daily life, whether you're sick, whether you're working out, whether you're eating too much, too little, XYZ, growing, right, aging, whatever it is. And it's the body's way of functioning. It's just how the body works. But long term, if you starve yourself, okay, if you keep eating less, your body will create a homeostasis based off of you being less. And what happens is all the metabolic functions inside your body change to kind of like a dysfunctional type of thing that then potentially ruins stuff long term. Hormones change, organs change, nervous system stuff change. There's a lot of things that happen in the body that long term don't speak well for longevity, but also like for results. So all of a sudden your body goes through starvation, your body goes through uh, fight or flight mode, right? It's sympathetically wired, right? And that means that there's not any digestion, no rest, no parasympathetic, no recovery, and that's where the results come from. It's recovery. So if you want to eat like an athlete, if you want to eat like a boss, eat like a badass, eat like a BAMF, okay, you have to eat. You have to have food, and you have to understand that at the end of the day, food is nourishment, not punishment. Food is fuel, not deprivation. Okay? Food is part of being healthy, not unhealthy. It's not starvation. Okay? It's not starvation. It's something more. And if you have a bad relationship with food, then you're going to go through a lot of willpower, a lot of mental strain to think about what's right, what's wrong, and all those other things. I've done it before, guys. I personally have done it. I've worked out twice a day on Christmas. I've starved myself until the Thanksgiving dinner, right? I've done all of those things. And I'm telling you straight up right now, none of those things helped me with my results. Not one. There's not one time that I can focus on that I did that it helped me, okay? It's because I have habits in place and because I know that food can help me, which has helped me long term. So let's say that we go through our daily lives and we're thinking that we still want to look better, okay? Think about that elite athlete again. Think about the Olympians. Think about those people that you see, that you'll see in the 2021 Olympics in Japan. I always think of like the track runners or like the gymnasts, right? They're crazy strong, crazy fit, like arguably the most in the world out of anybody, okay? And you think about what they do for a training, and I've learned from Olympic coaches, okay? I've been out to the Olympic Training Center. I talked about this last week, and I got to learn from some of the strength and conditioning coaches out there and what they do for their athletes. It's insane stuff, right? But they also have access to the best recovery methods out there. They also have access to the best cafeteria, an award-winning cafeteria out there. They have the best nutrition coaches. They have all of these people that are working for them to help them with success, right? But if we think a person had to go and perform at a high level for a gold medal, for a country, all right, against other countries, something that only happens roughly every 4 years, something that they may never be able to do again, do you think they're going to starve themselves during their training? Do you think they're going to have a bad relationship with food? Do you think they're going to have bad punishment? If they do, they've got help there to help them right away, right off the bat, whether it's a therapist or whether it's a nutrition coach, okay? And it happens. It does happen. There's a lot on there. You read about the blogs and read behind the scenes of Olympic trainings and elite athletes. Like, there's a ton out there. But we go through this, and we think about it, like, if they did that, they're probably not going to make the team. They're probably not going to be able to compete at the high level. They're not going to make the podium. They're not going to represent their country to the fullest of their nature. They're not going to live up to their dreams. So I asked this again like I asked last week. When we talked about the training side of things, if an athlete, an elite athlete, an elite Olympian, an Olympian in general, is training for something like that, if they're not going to train 7 days a week, 2 times a day, they're certainly not going to eat and starve themselves to get to where they want to be. If an athlete, an elite athlete, an Olympian doesn't do it, then why are you? Okay, why are you? Sure, that athlete trains hard, but we talked about that last week. Go watch that episode again if you're going to question me on training hard. Go back to that, okay? We can talk about progressive overload and the SED principle and metabolic resistance. We can talk about all that stuff, okay? But we're not going to talk about it here. We're going to talk about food. So when we talk about food then and eating like a badass, okay, we first of all have to probably acknowledge some sort of relationship with food, all right? Because here's the thing. You certainly can't out-train a bad diet, okay? You certainly can't out-train a bad diet. And I consider a bad diet one that's not wholesome, with minimally processed foods and the diet that supports you, okay, or a plan. that supports you, nutrition that supports you. I consider a bad diet one that's not available with nourishment and nutrients, one that's a lot more processed and not very minimally processed. Right? There's a lot of processed foods in the diet. I also considered a bad diet if you eat too little, and that's kind of like the new thing, right? If we eat too little, we're not going to do well. So if you go through this, and we think about like our charts here, and this is where I'll kind of get the whiteboard in. I'll kind of slide back there. So if we think about where that homeostasis thing that I talked about before, if this is where our homeostasis is now, I'll color in a line, okay? Think about that as like our level of where our calories are right now, okay? So this is where our body burns calories each day. This is where we need to be each day to kind of like if we just sat in here and did nothing, okay? This is our BMR, our basal metabolic rate. If we exercise, okay, and start exercising, guess what that does? It raises our metabolism. It goes up a little bit, right? So this is where our metabolism goes through exercise. Okay, so we have a difference there. All right? So our metabolism goes up if we exercise. This is why movement is so good. Not just necessarily the movement that you do in a gym, but movement all over the place. This is why movement is needed, because it automatically boosts your metabolism. Now, here's the hard part, and I talked about this in fat loss before. The same thing works for muscle building too. If we have this homeostasis here, okay, and this is what our body's used to in our basal metabolic rate, and we exercise and it goes up a little bit, but we're only eating like this, just below that, we created this big difference here, okay? This might result in fat loss. All right, but what happens when we go through this fat loss parameter is that we lose the ability to also build muscle. All right, we lose the ability to also build muscle, which is why we want to have strength training to help promote tear down muscle, to help promote muscle recovery, but also have protein such a strong part of our diet to help maintain all that lean muscle that we can, so that you can preserve it, so that you can keep your metabolism at a high level. All right. If that happens at a level where we then starve ourselves and we eat less because we think that's better for us to do, we create a bigger gap, right? And that gap then takes away from performance. All right? That gap takes away from performance. That gap does something else as well. So let's say now I have this new plan where I'm going to eat less. I'm going to eat less, okay? So I'm going to start eating down here, and maybe I start working out a little bit more up here, right? I'll put it over here. So I'm going to eat down here. Now I've created this bigger gap, which in theory, like in our head, says I should have more results. I should get better results from that. In theory, that makes sense. In theory, it makes sense. However, remember where our homeostasis was. Now we're at this like weird fluctuation of everything. So where's your body going to go? Where's your homeostasis going to happen? What will happen is your homeostasis will drop down here first. It'll drop down to where that food is, because food, like I said before, if food is 80% of your results, right? If food's 80% and exercise is 20, your homeostasis is going to be based along going to your food first. So now, when I was at metabolism of what it was here, in this big black area where I started, right, this area right here, okay, now I'm down here, I just took away X amount of energy, calories worth, right? Calories at the end of the day are just energy. I just created a new homeostasis, okay? So now I'm further away from up here where I'm trying to work out, but remember my body matched what I'm eating. So I created this gap, and here's what a gap does. If this gap gets too big, like this one is, if we create too much separation from where our new homeostasis is and from what we're trying to do, then we have something that happens that's called metabolic dysfunction. This is when our hormones change for the worse. This is when our stuff starts to shut down. This is when adrenal glands and thyroid start working differently in a negative way. This is when a lot of stuff happens that's beyond our pay grade as fitness and nutrition coaches, but this is what we're seeing happening because of these damn fitness and nutrition coaches and because of these damn weight loss challenges. Because you keep starting on these weight loss challenges and thinking that I need to eat less and I need to keep going down and down and down and down and down and creating this bigger gap. But that gap only creates more dysfunction. That gap eliminates your energy. It zaps your energy, guys. Okay, we can muscle our way through anything, brain muscle when I say that. But if you don't perform the way you want to, you can't expect to look or act or feel the way you want to. Think about those elite athletes again, those Olympians, right? They're not draining themselves down here. They want to make sure they're performing at their best level. So they're going to make sure that they're doing everything that they can to do that. They're going to sleep, right? They're going to sleep well. They're going to recover well. They're going to train hard. We already talked about that last week. They're going to eat well. Okay, they're going to eat well. They're going to eat like an athlete. They're going to eat like an Olympian, like a boss, like a badass, like a BAMF. All right? They're going to eat like that. Because if they don't, they're going to drop down. Now, here's the other part of this. Here's the other part of this. We can still get fat loss from doing this. Here's why. Because at some point, I'll get fat loss from this, but at some point, this will go way down. This will go way down. And then I start tearing away muscle tissue. I start losing muscle. I start getting that all that dysfunction. No matter how much protein I eat, I'm still tearing down muscle. I certainly am not going to build any. Okay, you don't have enough energy in your body to build and recover. You don't have enough energy in your body to recover. You're not recovering. You're down here. Your body can't possibly recover to get up to this. This is where your metabolism is. This is the calories you're burning these days. This is too much. This is why your body goes into this starvation mode and starts storing fat. Because fat is hard to burn. We talked about this already, guys. Okay, we talked about this a few weeks ago. This is why you end up building more fat down here, because you're not eating enough, and you're also not training hard enough. You're just training to survive. You're training to bury yourself in the ground. You're training to just say that you're doing it. You're training because you think it's the right thing to do. You're just training hard. You're not training smart. All right? A proper program doesn't require you to come in 7 days a week. Again, we talked about that last week. Proper program will get you to 3 or 4, maybe 5. All right? So let's say we do this. Let's start all over really quick. We're almost done here, guys, so hang on there with me. Let's start all over. All right? So let's say we start with that homeostasis again. It's that same thing. Okay? This is our homeostasis. This is me, my BMR, me doing nothing each day. I start exercising. Boom. I elevate my metabolism. Okay? Let's say if I kept my nutrition the same, I didn't change anything on my nutrition quite yet. Boom. I get results out of this. Okay? I get results. I can get fat loss. I can also potentially get some muscle building. Because that gap is where it's supposed to be. It's not extreme. We're not going over this extreme thing. We're creating significant impact here. Now, let's say I start eating a little bit less. Okay, I eat down here, I get a little bit less. Okay, so I drop this down. This is my new eating, okay? So now I get this gap. Again, same pattern we just talked about. And maybe I get a little bit more results. I increase my results just a little bit. So instead of doing 2 things, one, taking your workout and trying to train more, go up here. Sure, we can train more, but maybe we only go to this level. Have you ever thought for a second, instead of just starving yourself and creating that bigger gap that I just said we should not do, to say, you know what, I've tried this before. I feel like shit. I look like shit. I think I'm training like shit. Okay? I'm going off of fumes here. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not being a good person. I'm agitated. I'm irritable. I'm frustrated. I'm pissed off. I'm overworking. I'm always hurt. I'm hurting more and more. I'm more sore than I used to be. I'm searching for soreness. I'm searching for all this stuff. Instead of going to that level, which is you down here, which is where all those other fat loss challenges, all those other weight loss challenges are going to take you, have you ever thought for a second, what would happen if I actually increased my food to here? And I still have my same gap. That same gap, that's here. That same gap is now here. What did I do? I ate more for my body. I fueled my body. I nourished my body. I respected my body. I understood my body. I did that, and I trained harder so that the next time I need to make a change, maybe I train a little bit harder, or in this case, smarter. I get on a new program that helps me elevate my metabolism, that helps me build more strength, that helps me burn more fat. But it doesn't mean I'm adding another day. That means I'm just training differently. It means I'm training smart. And I upped my food a little bit just to make sure I can work hard like I want to and get the actual results out of the training program that I want to. And I just elevated myself again. I went up another level. I'm not going down. We're going up, guys. We're going up. Would you rather be able to survive off of 1,200 calories a day with all of the BS that's out there with the fast food and the junk food and the processed food and everything else in between that's out there, than having you create a worse relationship with food because you're going to have to say no more often, all the willpower stuff, all the BS stuff that's out there off of 1,200 calories a day? Or would you rather be able to have 2,000, 2,200 calories, 2,500 calories a day, train like a badass, not worry about food so much, have a better relationship with food, have more confidence in yourself, have better workouts, get better results from the workouts, be better long-term longevity, avoid more injury, sleep better, and look better? We go up, guys. We elevate. We ignite this thing. We don't take it away. There's certain things that we take away, sure, but we don't have to starve. We don't have to deprive. We don't have to restrict. We don't have to be running on fumes all the time. We don't have to just be only showing up. Showing up's 80% of the battle. Now let's get some work done. Let's do this at a high level. Let's do what your body's capable of. Let's become that best version of yourself. We do that by elevating. We do that by igniting. We don't do that by taking away and continue to take away. There has to be a better way to do this. Okay? We can train like it for sure. All right? But we can eat like it too. All right? It's not training to exhaustion. It's not eating to starvation. Like I said before, we don't have a weight loss issue in our country. We have a weight maintenance issue. That little scenario that I just put up on the whiteboard right there is how we get out of our weight loss issue and go to the weight maintenance issue. Because you can't keep losing weight over and over and over again. It just doesn't work that way. All right? So when you go through that, when we elevate, we take advantage of the habits that you already have instilled in your life, the new ones and the old, and we create new and old ones to build your life up and elevate your life. Okay? That's the whole point behind it all. All right? We don't take it away. We don't want you to just survive. We want you to thrive. Let's make this happen in a smart way. That's how you eat like a boss, like a badass, like a BAMF. That's how we eat like an athlete. That's how athletes eat. They do not starve themselves through that. They don't put themselves at jeopardy. You shouldn't be doing it either. You do not deserve that. You deserve better. Here's the final thing. We're going to go through a nutrition course here in starting on January 25th. Happens to start on the same day as the Ignite Challenge. We have an 8-week nutrition course. Okay? It's coming up. You'll start seeing that available to purchase here in the coming week. That is going to be for free with our Ignite Challenge. All right? So the Ignite Challenge is 10 weeks. The nutrition course is 8. Plus you get some free stuff in there, some free weeks, some surprise stuff, and you'll have lifetime access to any content that we add to that course forever. As long as we have the course that we're making and we still have it up on a website, you will have access to anything else we do. That is coming in the next week. And we are going to create nutritional freedom. We are going to free you from these relationships that you have with food, the bad ones. And we're going to give you the confidence of what you need for food to fuel your body, to recover your body, to do all these things for your body type, for your goals, and beyond. That's what this nutrition course is. It's also part of our Ignite Challenge. And the Ignite Challenge is going to have you training like the badass. So you can put them both together. The nutrition course is free with anybody who does Ignite, but you can also do the nutrition course on your own. That's coming in the next week. Hop on the webinar next week. Go to unityfitnesspro.com. Click on the Ignite button. RSVP for your webinar. We're going over everything on the Ignite Challenge next week, but also the nutrition course. You're gonna learn a lot of stuff, but more importantly, you're gonna learn how we're doing things differently, because you deserve differently. Again, we're not here to drive you to the bottom and have you lose as much weight as possible in 6 weeks for you to just gain it all back. That's doing nobody good. Nobody. Clearly, America just saw that with the pandemic. Okay, with all the issues that we have going out there that are related to BMI and weight gain and weight issues. Clearly, it's out there. So let's go through a weight maintenance. Let's teach you how to get crazy results, do these results, train the right way, train smart, and eat smart, okay? So that you can keep doing that stuff and not have to worry about it long term. We're done with the yo-yos, guys. We're done with the fat loss challenges. We're done with all of this stuff. It's time to move on. It's time to be better. And this is going to do it. The Ignite Challenge. UnityFitnessPro.com. Head over to it, RSVP. You'll get first access to the challenge and to the nutrition course on the same night. Next Wednesday, 6:30 p.m., we got a webinar, live webinar. I'll be on it. All right, guys, that is all for the Community Fitness Podcast, episode number 115. Eating like a badass, eating like a boss, eating like a BAMF, eating like an athlete, whatever the heck you want to say. But it's time to stop with the starvation, the restriction, and the deprivation diets. It's time to stop. There's 50 of them out there that we can follow. It doesn't matter if we still have a weight issue. We don't have a weight loss problem. We have a weight maintenance problem. It's time to be better. The Ignite Challenge is how we do that. We'll see you guys next week, back and better than ever, as I get ready to launch the Ignite Challenge that night. All right. Night before. Sorry. All right, guys. Jordan Rudolph, episode number 115. Thank you so much for joining us at the Community Fitness Podcast. We'll see you next week. Be well, be happy, be safe, be responsible, and all those good things. Talk soon.